I'm going to talk about the iConsumer. iConsumer is a knowledge asset at McKinsey, which involves 100,000 consumers in 15 countries. What I'm going to do today is share some of the latest insights we've gotten. The data you'll see here is US data. It's literally been cut this past week. We took a sample. In the US, we have 20,000 consumers. We took 12,000 of them to be able to give you some of the insights for this session. 15 countries in terms of the broader survey, including China, India, 9 countries in Europe, and Brazil. So I have 10 minutes to go through 5 very big trends, so I'm going to go fast. Because the whole point of iConsumer is it's a broad, cross-cutting view of digital consumer behavior that we couldn't find in order to serve our clients, so we went out and did the primary research ourselves. Let me quickly run through them and then go into the data. So we're finding mobile is really finally creating the true personal computer, and we'll show you some data that's really surprising in terms of how people actually use smartphones, tablets, et cetera. On social, it's going beyond connection and the social graph to a way to find content and to actually transact. Communication is, as you know, changing dramatically, but I'm going to show you some numbers with the actual shifts and the cannibalization that's going on between social, texting, and other forms of communication. Commerce is, especially with a mobile phone, we're finding big changes in the way people are actually purchasing and researching products, and video, which is becoming multi-platform and rapidly accelerating. So on mobile, just basic facts here to ground the conversation. At this point, 50% of Americans have a smartphone. I think we all know that. Now, it's interesting that when you ask people how they use these phones, right, you find a quarter of people are actually doing things like email and browsing, even in the presence of a computer. So they actually prefer the device, the mobile device, to do these types of activities. And it's becoming a Swiss Army knife, right, of the digital world. There's massive growth in all of these activities. I mean, very, very robust growth, as you see from last year to this year, and everything from gaming to shopping and research. And it's truly a personal device. If you compare, when you ask people whether I only use this device, when you compare a desktop, a laptop on a smartphone, a smartphone is 50% more personal than a laptop. And we also see it in the viewing behavior. So if you look at video and internet usage on a mobile device, and this includes, so this is smartphone. I'll talk about the tablet in a moment. 60% of video usage, 60% of internet browsing actually happens in the home, right? So they're not really mobile. Mobile is actually an important aspect of it, but they're really personal. And we think this has a lot of implications for the types of services and experiences that companies need to build for. And you see it. You see it when you go into a house and you see a family sitting in the living room and everybody's looking at their device and experiencing their own version of whatever it is they're looking at. The iPad has its own set of dynamics, right, as a mobile device. So we found 62% of iPads don't leave the home, right? And 70% of the usage is in the living room. And 70% is a lean back experience versus a lean forward experience. And it's finding its way into a lot of places in the home where we didn't have computing in the past. Now, the PC industry, right, tried to get a device into the living room for 20 years, right? Well, it's here. Now, most of you have probably seen the pretty big declines in PC, consumer PC purchases, right, in the last few quarters. This is part of the reason. If you look at net intent to delay purchase of a PC, so how many people plan to delay purchase versus accelerate purchase, the net effect of that between the overall population and tablet owners, there's almost a 10% difference. So folks who have tablets are significantly delaying their purchases of PCs. Now, they're not doing away with it, because the PC, in my view, is going to be an input-output device in the home, and it has a role to play, and it's probably here to stay for a very long time. But even that delay in the purchase is having very dramatic impact on unit volumes, right? That's impacting a lot of companies in the PC ecosystem. Now, on social, we're continuing to see massive growth in social on the PC and now on the mobile in a very dramatic way. And a lot of that usage is actually very frequent usage, right, as you can see from the graph. So regular users make up a bulk of that. And one of the big shifts we're starting to see, we started seeing this a couple years ago, but it's really starting to accelerate, is that people are going beyond connecting and using social as a way to find deals, news, products, and services, right? So it's becoming a broader content and commerce platform. These graphs show what we call the communication portfolio, so all of the different communication vehicles for an individual. And what you see here is the progression of usage across social, voice over IP, landline, mobile, email, text. And you see the dramatic growth in social, and the only other category that's growing is voice over IP. Everything else is actually shrinking as a proportion of minutes of use. And we can't go into it today, but we've actually gone into all the questions around cannibalization, and there's very direct cannibalization. This is obviously has huge implications for the traditional wireless and landline players. And if you look at cohorts, age cohorts, very dramatic differences, not only in terms of the absolute minutes of use, with the under 35 cohort almost communicating almost at twice the rate in terms of absolute numbers, but then also in terms of the breakdown, with social playing a massive role relative to the older demographic. And then on the commerce side, there's a set of if you look at products that have been researched online versus purchased online, we have a group of industries that we call gone digital, things like, as you would expect, games, electronics, a group of products that are in we call it digital battleground, so things like clothing, right, Zappos, et cetera. And then still in-store groceries, right, Webvan never quite took off. Even in the last year, we're seeing a very, very significant shift to the right here. So what we call the consumer decision journey, right, how people research, shop, and the after-sales experience that consumers go through is becoming extremely complex and digital. And I'm going to show you one set of data on what people are doing in-store on their smartphones, right? So this is by category of product. So for people who bought products in these categories, the percent that researched the product online, the percent who researched them on mobile devices. So already 60%, right, of people are researching a hardware or software purchase online, and 20% are doing it on a mobile phone. And that mobile activity is coming up from nearly zero, right, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's a massive uptick. And this, again, this shift is creating a lot of new dynamics that companies need to deal with. You look furthermore at people who actually researched, so the folks who researched on mobile, that 20%, for example, for hardware, software, how they researched, right? So if I'm at Best Buy, a quarter of people are actually looking at the Best Buy site, but they're equally looking at the Apple Store site, right? And, well, actually more, 30 to 40%. And 40% are using a price comparison app. And again, these are things that didn't exist, right, until very recently. And they're already taking off in a major way. So we think this has huge implications on the commerce side. And on the video side, over-the-top video or IP-delivered video is taking off very, very quickly. There we go on video. So video is becoming a cross-platform experience. We're seeing massive increase in over-the-top video, which has huge implications on the pay TV industry. So that's my talk. I'll be around all morning if anybody has any questions. I look forward to talking to some of you. Thank you.